Oh my. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. A Kobe Bryant patch autograph. Woo! Number 4 of 10.
How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to my channel, Kobe Cards. If you missed my last video, I discussed brands and sets that Panini has actually removed from their lineup. And while I was prepping for that video and going through all of my cards to see what I wanted to share for that video, I ran into one card in particular that caught my attention, and immediately my nerdy mind wanted to understand all of the data around that card. And I just couldn't help myself, but I stopped all the planning and all the ideas I had for other videos that I wanted to do, and I shifted my attention to this card. And one thing you'll learn about me is I love statistics. I love analyzing data, I love discussing random metrics, and I just love crunching numbers. So, naturally, when my dreams of playing professional basketball were crushed from a young age, realizing I was never going to be a 6-foot or 7-footer, that didn't really deter me from doing things in sports that I loved. Like in college, doing sports radio. I did play-by-play and color commentary for our athletic department, and I even wrote game recaps for the school newspaper. In other words, I cannot get enough sports in my life, especially basketball, and the data and analytics played a huge role in my love of sports. So with all that being said, let's go into the Kobe capsule and see what it was that caught my eye. All right, so here we have a 2012-2013 Panini Marquee Kobe Bryant card. This is number 1 in the set. And get ready for this. The base set for this product was made up of 540 cards. This set was a gigantic set. And the even more interesting thing is the breakdown of the set. So there were 100 veterans, there were 50 legends or retired players, and then there were 390 rookie cards. You might be thinking to yourself, how in the world does a base set have 390 rookie cards? And how it worked out was there were 70 different players that had 5 rookie cards each. And then there were 10 players that had 4 rookie cards each. So the reason this all happened was because in 2011-2012, there was a shortened season because of the CBA lockout. So Panini was barely even able to release any products that year. For instance, their Hoops product, which is usually the first product they release, or one of the first products, didn't even come out until February, when normally you'd already be like into the All-Star break or past All-Star weekend. So instead of calling any of the cards rookie cards during the 2011-12 season, they rolled over all the rookies, and therefore anyone who started playing in 2011-2012 or 2012-2013 was still a rookie in the 2012-2013 season. They basically combined both rookie classes, and that's how you had, 70 different players who each had 5 rookie cards each. So let's take a second, and now we'll look into the design. The first thing that I want to say is I'm absolutely in love with this design. This design is an absolute 10 out of 10 for me. It's very sleek, and it's very simple. It has the hollow foil or refractor-like feel to it, which is very nice. And I love the branding as well. I really love the design of, the shooting stars coming out of the word marquee. And it just feels like, you're seeing this on a billboard or at a movie theater. It just makes you feel like it's bold, it's written in caps, it really grabs your attention. And, the word marquee itself, it just makes me think of main attractions. And Kobe, every single night, no matter which arena you were in, he was a main attraction. So with that being said, let's go to the back of the card. So before we go into the passage, just for our records, let's see if I can get it. There we go. You see that it says he is 6'6" and 205 pounds. So we are going to add that to our tracker and keep that in the back of our head that, for that ongoing debate about whether he's 6'6" or 6'7". And you'll also see the stats that show 58 games played in the 2011-12 season. Once again, going back to the lockout that year. So now let's go into the quote. The Lakers couldn't pull out a win against Indiana on November 27, 2012, but it wasn't from a lack of effort on Bryant's part. Scoring 40 of the Lakers' 77 points, it marked the 8th time that Bryant has recorded at least half of Los Angeles' points in a game. No active player had done it more than twice. All right, so let's talk about that a little bit. The first thing I want to say is you are going to end up including Kobe's 60-point finale into this number. So by the end of his career, it's actually 9 games in his career where Kobe accounts for at least half of his team's points. There are only 2 players to do this more times than Kobe in their career. One of which, of course, is Wilt Chamberlain, who did this 19 times. But he was a player who literally was able to average 50 points per game for an entire season in 1961. So, of course, you would think that he would be on that list. And then number 2 is Michael Jordan, who did it 12 times. Kobe is number 3 at 9 times. And before I talk about who in the league active right now has done this the most times, I'm going to give you guys a little quiz. So on the screen right now, somewhere over here, I'll pop it up. I'm going to list the 19 games this season where a player has scored 50 or more points in a game. And I want you to take a look, pause the video, and make a guess as to how many times this season a player has accounted for more than half of their team's points. But let's see what you think. All right, so if you did take a guess, here's the answer. The answer is once. Only once all year this season has any player ever accounted for half of his team's points. So despite Lillard averaging 50 points in a 6-game stretch, despite the 5 times Harden dropped 50 or more, Harden hasn't done it this year once, and Lillard was only able to do it once in his 60-point game, which didn't even come in his stretch of averaging 50 over a 6-game stretch. And it was just barely, his team scored 115 points that game, and he accounted for 60 of it. So what does that really say? Honestly, part of it is that you have to be so much better offensively and just so much more dominant than anyone else on the floor. Additionally, you have to be so much more dominant than anyone guarding you. And then lastly, one thing that would really, really help is being a great defender, because it helps a lot when you can get easy points by getting into passing lanes, creating steals, and getting points in transition. And that's where Kobe and Jordan really shined. They are great both offensively and defensively. And even some of the league's best scorers can't accomplish a lot of the things on both ends of the floor that those 2 players did. And then obviously, Wilt sort of explains himself. Another thing that you have to remember is the game is changing. And in today's game, the speed is really increasing. There's a lot more possessions being played in the average game. So for instance, if you're maybe the Houston Rockets, and your team over the course of the entire year is scoring 130, 140 points even in any given game, I've seen some games where they don't even go into overtime and they're scoring 150 or just below 160, which is absolutely insane. But let's say, bare minimum, a team who's having a great night drops 120. You have to have scored more than 60 points to account for over half your team's total. It's extremely rare. And it's just one of those things that, again, I saw the stats. I ended up going online because this is actually such a rare stat that it's not something that you can easily find in like a basketball encyclopedia page or something like that. I actually went into Wilt's career game log and literally scrolled his entire career and one by one went through each of his games and counted all the way up to the 19 different times and did the same for Jordan and Kobe as well. It's a little bit easier now with stat tracking in the last 10 years or so. ESPN's gotten a lot more dynamic with the way in which they log their historical statistics. But I wanted to make sure that I had the numbers totally right. So I did most of it manually. And that's how you're getting those numbers, because that statistic is just insane and is not something that you would find on a Kobe career highlights page or anything like that. I forgot to get back to this, but to answer the question about which active player in the league currently has done this the most times, the answer is actually James Harden, who you would think, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But still, he's only done that 4 total times, and none of which were this season. So still, I think it says a lot that you have, the number 1, the number 2, and then the number 3 being Kobe. I don't know if anyone is going to be replacing Kobe at number 3 on that list for a very, very long time. All right, so as always, this card right here is going to be uploaded to my Instagram, which is @KobeCapsule. So feel free to follow me there as we continue our journey to remember and celebrate the life and career of Kobe Bryant. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time with more Kobe cards.